When I was in high school, I had this really bad habit of waiting until the last minute to fill my car up with gas. My dad once told me that once it hits empty, you can still go like 50 miles. And man, did I take that to heart. This was a fun little quirk of mine until my senior year. My car's gas light had been on for, I don't know, like 2 days. Mind your business. Anyway, lo and behold, this was the day my crush asked me for a ride home. I jumped at the opportunity, ignoring that I was in no position to drive the 10 extra miles past my house. Well, as it turns out, this girl was not a fan of waiting for roadside assistance on the shoulder of the interstate for an hour. Turns out, she wasn't the love of my life. And believe it or not, that's not the last time I would run out of gas. Hey, I'm Austin, and I can tell you from personal experience that if you've ever been stranded on the side of the road, you know what it's like to be in need. Maybe you don't have a car, or you're responsible, but you likely still know the very human feeling of being broken down and helpless. Even just the anticipation of times like these can make us ask, can I really trust God to be there when I need Him? It's a valid question. Let's turn to the Bible to find some answers. Today, we're going to read about a woman who was truly at the end of her rope. We'll be in 1 Kings, which is near the front of the Bible in the Old Testament. In this passage, we learn about a prophet named Elijah. Prophets heard directly from God and communicated his message to his people. Now, Elijah had just prophesied that there was going to be a famine and no rain until further notice. God was doing this because the people, particularly the then king of Israel, Ahab, weren't following God, like at all. He wanted to get their attention. Let's pick up in 1 Kings chapter 17, starting in verse 8, and see what God had to say to Elijah. It says, "Then the word of the Lord came to him, 'Get up, go to Zarephath that belongs to Sidon and stay there. Look, I've commanded a woman who is a widow to provide for you there.' So Elijah got up and went to Zarephath. When he arrived at the city gate, there was a widow gathering wood. Elijah called to her and said, 'Please bring me a little water in a cup and let me drink.'" Okay, so God had been especially kind to Elijah in the midst of the famine. Go back and read the verses before this sometime. You'll see that Elijah was living near this stream and God provided food for him. But the stream had dried up because of the whole no rain situation, and it was time to move on. But God hadn't forgotten about Elijah. He knew that Elijah was in need, and he told Elijah that he would provide. Elijah believed God, went to the nearby town, and asked a widow for a little water. Now remember, there was a drought, so this was a pretty big ask. Let's see what happened. As she went to get it, he called to her and said, "Please bring me a piece of bread in your hand." But she said, "As the Lord your God lives, I don't have anything baked, only a handful of flour in the jar and a bit of oil in the jug. Just now I'm gathering a couple of sticks in order to go prepared for myself and my son so we can eat it and die." Now, this woman was on her way to get Elijah what was probably like 2 sips of water. And he calls out, "Oh yeah, and some bread too." You're kidding, right? Read the room, my man. And the woman kind of reacted the same. She said to Elijah, "I don't have anything to offer you. Honestly, I've got enough ingredients to make one little loaf, and then probably my son and I are gonna die." This was serious. These people were literally physically starving to death. The woman was completely at the end of herself. She had this basic need and she just couldn't meet it. Have you been there before? Our brokenness reveals that we need God. When we acknowledge that we lack the ability to provide for ourselves, it can seem like all hope is lost. That's definitely where this woman found herself. She had resolved that she and her son were going to die because they didn't have what they needed. Let's see how Elijah responded to her exclamation of need. Verses 13 through 16 say, "Then Elijah said to her, 'Don't be afraid. Go and do as you have said. But first make me a small loaf from it and bring it out to me. Afterward, you may make some for yourself and your son. For this is what the Lord God of Israel says. The flour jar will not become empty, and the oil jug will not run dry until the day the Lord sends rain on the surface of the land.' So she proceeded to do according to the word of Elijah. Then the woman Elijah and her household ate for many days. The flour jar did not become empty, and the oil jug did not run dry, according to the word of the Lord he has spoken through Elijah. Are you clocking this? The tiny bit of oil and small handful of flour didn't run out for days, which is crazy. When the widow had come to the end of herself, God said, "That's okay. Come to me. I will give you what you need." God didn't only provide for Elijah, an important prophet, but also for this widow who would have been pretty low on the social food chain. Now, at this point, you might be thinking to yourself, all right, Austin, but I'm not in the middle of a famine, and I don't even know how I'd make bread out of just flour and oil. What does this have to do with me? This passage tells us that God knows we are in need, and he doesn't leave us hopeless. He doesn't leave us broken down and stranded on the side of the road. Our brokenness reveals our lack, our need, our inability to produce what we so desperately need. The thing we need most is a relationship with God. And our brokenness reveals that on our own, we don't have it. But in Jesus, we have hope. The Bible tells us that Jesus is the bread of life, that we need him more than we need food or water or air. When he came to earth, he made it possible for us to have a relationship that doesn't run out. Just like the oil and flour, Jesus always gives us more of himself, meeting our need fully and freely.